Welcome back to Painting Lines. Last week we discussed a few ATP 250s that were happening, as well as the Six King Slam. And this week we had two big tournaments, one in Vienna and one in Basel. But before we jump in, please feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and helps us make more episodes. So, Eric, we had two vastly different tournaments this week. In Vienna, we had a semis featuring the top four seeds and a 1 versus 2 final. Whereas in the Swiss indoors, we only had one seed in the semis, which was the number 8 seed, and an unseeded finalist. So, which tournament did you prefer of these two?
I think you know where I stand here. I'm going with Vienna all day because I was ready for some heavyweight matchups after I feel like what was kind of a lull. Shanghai was interesting. We had some unranked players, unseeded players make amazing runs, which was cool to see. Like I like the story there. And then this past week we had, like you said, a few 250s, didn't really get like the big names. So I feel like Vienna, seeing that Zverev Sinner final, like that's what I was craving, just something with a big name matchup to it.
Yeah, my only problem with Vienna was just that even with the big names, it didn't really feel as much like there was a lot of contention. I mean, yes, maybe you go Musetti over Zverev, but other than that, like you look at Deminar versus Sinner and you look at Sinner versus Zverev in the final, those almost felt like foregone conclusions going into those matches.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the center Deminar, I think he's what, like 11, 12 and
Yeah,
0 against
12
him
and 0.
now?
Yeah.
12 and 0. That's crazy. Oh man.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty brutal. So
yeah,
that's kind of why I preferred the Swiss indoors, just because you kind of didn't know what was going to happen in the matchups.
yeah, I was kind of I do like the fact that Zverev and Sinner were kind of headed towards a collision course because it kind of gave me a glimmer of hope that Zverev is kind of back to maybe like number three in the world, where he's kind of pushing Alcaraz and Sinner, not quite beating them. I would have liked to see him actually get a win here and win the title against Sinner.
Yeah, at least would have made it a little bit more interesting going into the end of the year here.
Yeah, exactly.
We can start it off here with Wawrinka collecting one of his only wins of the season in front of his home crowd in Basel over Kecmanovic. It was actually only his third win of the season this year. But one thing that actually stood out to me was the fact that he still has collected $450,000 of prize money this year, which feels like a lot for only three tour level wins.
Yeah, three tour level wins. So he didn't play in the US Open. I know that because he was pissed that he didn't get a wild card. So if he played in the other three slams, he probably made about 100K per per tournament. And then maybe another couple hundred K combined with his three wins.
Yeah, I mean, I guess something like that. But it seems like he's just kind of collecting those checks from like getting wild cards into big tournaments.
Yeah, Stan the man. I wonder who's going to retire first, him or Djokovic.
Yeah, well, I think honestly, it's gonna be close because Wawrinka has really kind of embraced the fact that he's not a top player on tour now, and he's just continuing to play. Whereas it's probably going to be harder for Djokovic to be like, "I'm number 30 in the world. I'm going to keep playing."
Yeah, and Stan did have like a later breakout, like I think he won his slams when he was probably 29, 30 years old.
Yeah, I'm
So,
not exactly sure the exact year, but it definitely was a little bit later than some of the other guys that were of that era.
yeah, I will say before he retires, I do want to see one more Rune Wawrinka match just for the beef's sake.
Yeah, but would it really just be like a domination by Runa?
Yeah, maybe not though. Coming off of the popped Achilles, maybe he's got to rehab his way back.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. I hope when Runa comes back, he's
Yeah,
like back to being top level.
you got nothing to say? You got nothing to say?
What do you have to say now? Yeah. Then moving on to another early round match, it was Fritz and Vachereau. This is actually my match of the week, so I'll talk about it a little bit more then. But I feel like it was such an important match for Vachereau in terms of his career. Obviously, coming off of a win in Shanghai, massive jump in his ranking and his sort of the amount of eyes on him in the tennis world. And it really looked like Vachereau might take this match for a while, had some chances, but wasn't able to capitalize. But it really did legitimize his playing level after that big run in Shanghai.
100% agree. This was last week. This was your upset of the week, one of them,
It was
or like
one of the
one to
ones that I
watch,
was
right?
looking at, like, yeah, this could be an upset, and it looked very close for a while there.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did discount Vachereau immensely. So I was following the match and I saw once Fritz won the first set. I think he was plus 340, and I was like, boom, I think I even said to you, easiest money I'll ever make in my
Yeah.
life.
And I was like,
And
are you watching the match? Because this looks like it's going Vachero's way.
oh yeah, and I sweated it the whole time too. I even cashed it out early because I did not trust Fritz in the third set.
Yeah,
So
right. When it came down to the line.
oh my God, I know that was quite the match right there. But yeah, like you said, it legitimizes Vachereau because he may not have won the match, but he still pushed Fritz to his limits. And we were even talking about this too. The fact that Fritz's body language looked so poor, I just didn't feel like he had any momentum. Even just watching the match, watching him act, I don't know how you win a match like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the really big thing that I noticed just from Vachero's play that I think you saw in Shanghai too, but was even more emphasized in this match is that Vachero is just like, I'm going to play the match and maybe I lose, but it's not really going to be because of you. He was playing just balls to the wall, just going for every shot. And he missed a lot of shots that were easy and maybe could have been putaways, but he also put away a lot of balls that a lot of other players might have played a little bit safer and then lost the point.
Yeah, honestly, just tough draw for Bashro too, coming off that big win. Because I would have liked to see him maybe make a run here,
Yeah, at least get
follow
a
it up
couple
at
of
least.
wins.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
consolidate
probably
it.
would have been good for his confidence as well.
Hmm.
I wonder though, do you think it's better if he had gotten a couple of wins over like mediocre to lower level players and then gotten decimated by a high level guy, or for something like this to come in and be like, okay, even though I didn't win it, I really pushed a top guy, which really shows that I at least have this level.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think just for his sake, maybe collect a couple rounds of prize money and ranking points, probably better. But you could argue on the other side and say as a fan that he's more legit because of this big win against Fritz versus beating two lower ranked guys and then getting
Yeah.
decimated by a
Yeah,
top
having
name.
at least a competitive
Mhm.
match with Fritz. Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of Fritz, him and Shelton then went out in the round of 16, which was really disappointing. They were the top two seeds in the tournament. And I wonder whether the fact that both of them had really tough opening round matchups that both went to a third set maybe hurt them in this second round.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think Shelton played after coming back from injury? Do you think he looked himself, or do you think he was, maybe not 100%? Because I would probably just chalk it up to that.
I mean, I would say probably not 100% just because of how close his first match was. And then I don't think even his match here went to a third set. So you would hope that's not his 100% return, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then as far as Fritz, I had mentioned it before about his body language. I feel like after he barely beat Vachereau, he was kind of bound to lose the next round. That's just kind
Yeah.
of what I felt.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
obviously that's a gut instinct, but I just felt like it.
to me, the question becomes: does Fritz still view Vachereau as that number 200 player and be like, "Oh, he just got lucky, but really he's a number 200 guy," or should he be viewing him as this guy just won a Masters 1000 and is a top whatever 40 player?
So I think Fritz, just based on his mentality, he definitely did discount him going into the match. But I do think next time he plays him, it's not even going to be close. I think he is almost insulted that it was that close with a guy that far. I guess I don't want to say that far away because I feel like the talent was there, but ranking wise, just so someone that Fritz should be like through in and throughout.
Yeah, he should beat him, but I feel like when you're playing a guy in the top 40, it's never a match you can completely discount. Like look at when you're playing someone like Greek Spore. Like you never really discount when you're playing against him.
Yeah. No, that's true. I feel like Fritz, though, there's certain guys in the top five, like obviously Carlos and Jannik, who aren't really losing to
Yeah.
guys ranked in the top 40. But then you also have that other kind of secondary tier, like Fritz is one of those guys. Um, I don't know, maybe Draper, maybe I would say Zverev, but not really the case anymore. I feel like just
But
that
but Fritz
separation.
Fritz loses matches. He doesn't always beat those guys. Like I think it's not. That's what makes it so unique. This era of tennis we're in right now is that nobody is a lock against
Yeah.
anyone other than Sinner and Alcaraz.
Yeah. All right, that's a good point, but it's more rare for Fritz to do it than say like Zverev, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think Deminar and Fritz are guys that usually will collect at least a couple of rounds.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's an interesting question though.
Yeah, but then again, moving on to the quarterfinals, we had three walkovers. So three out of the four matches featured at least a guy retiring partially through the match. And I feel like this is just a signal like fatigue seems to be rearing its head again. And I wonder if it's just the point of the season we're at because we've seen more injuries, we've seen more guys withdrawing. Like you look at an early tournament in the year, how many withdrawals are there usually in Brisbane or a tournament like that that's at the very start of the year compared to when you get past the US Open? Because it feels like all of these tournaments feature so many walkovers.
Yeah, it's a product of that. And then also with Paris starting up too. I feel like the players, whenever there's a big tournament next, there's no reason to try to push yourself and then possibly have to sit out the next tournament, the Masters 1000. So I think a lot of players are just being extra cautious here with Paris coming up.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. I just wonder how much that actually like do players really just pull themselves out of matches if they think they're going to lose just so they don't have as much court time or just to reduce the risk of injury? Like, what do you think it is?
Ask Sinner whenever he's losing and he just pulls out. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
Sinner's one.
Yeah.
We'll see with Sinner, but
Yeah, I because he had a little hamstring issue, didn't he?
yeah, I
That he
mean,
was trying to
I
play
mean,
off. I know.
we'll see what happens anyway. Last thing I want to talk about is from the quarters. Rude really felt like going into his match was a favorite for the winning the whole tournament, just because you looked at who was left in the semis already, and his was the last quarterfinal match, and it felt like it was an open draw to be honest for him. And then he ends up pulling out of his match after I think the first set, but it kind of feels like a disappointment for him, really, because he's coming off a win of a tournament last week and seemed to have a good opportunity here and just didn't deliver.
Yeah, exactly. And just playing off the momentum too. Because Rude had that big Masters win earlier in the year, but then really hasn't done a whole lot. And then once he wins Stockholm last week, I feel like this, like you said, is a good time to kind of follow up and keep the momentum going. And honestly, with the draw looking the way it was, he probably could have had another title here, but unfortunately, yeah, had to pull out. So I don't know. I actually don't know if he's going on to win the title now that I'm thinking about it, but definitely had the biggest chance, I would say.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he was like you said, just trying to save some court time or
Yeah.
reduce the risk of injury before he headed into Paris.
So when yeah, was it a like a pure injury? I didn't see it, or was it just fatigue?
Yeah, I mean, it was the situation where he did have an injury timeout, but he seemed to be moving fine after it. So maybe it was a slight tweak of something, but didn't look like anything serious.
Yeah, I probably just want to save some gas.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into that final. We had Fonseca versus Davidovich Fokina, two guys that really want a title here. Obviously, Fonseca, super young guy trying to win the biggest title of his career. And then on the other side, we have Davidovich, who is one of the highest ranked guys ever to have never won a title. So that's a tough one. Both of them really want it. But I was kind of rooting for Davidovich here just because I wanted to see him finally get a title.
I was not rooting for Davidovich Fokina here just because I am a Fonseca fan. The match was pretty interesting though. Fonseca got off to a very early lead. I think he broke him first game, but then he got broken back, so then it became a little tighter. But Fonseca broke away. Second set too. I think he broke him very early and then just kind of was in cruise control from then. So I feel like for Davidovich Fokina, not one of the most heartbreaking title losses he's had because he's been right there at the finish line too. And I feel like sometimes that's worse than just kind of getting like beaten pretty handedly in a title match.
Yeah, but I do feel as though he was favored going into this match, given his ranking, given his experience on tour, and just being in that position going up against a much younger guy.
Yeah, I feel like the crowd was just fully for Fonseca too. Like that's got to be pretty hard to play in the indoor atmosphere like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're kind of looking at like almost the definition right now of a journeyman type of player where he's
Hmm.
really good but isn't at the peak level, and then Fonseca on the other side, which is like the rising star. So usually that's the guy who's going to have the crowd behind him. But overall for Fonseca, it was a good run, but he did also get a couple of retirements. Obviously, he had the withdrawal late in the match in the quarterfinals, but then had Mensik withdraw before the match even started. So he got to skip a full day of playing, got some rest there, which could have been big this late in the season.
Yeah, I feel like for how young Fonseca is, I don't think the rest plays that much into it. Like I think maybe it could actually go into hurt. Maybe just playing devil's advocate here, but just not having another match under your belt, maybe sitting for too long. I don't know. But would have liked to see him play Mensah because I know they played in the next gen finals, so that would
Yeah,
have been a cool
it
cool
would have been an
rematch.
exciting one, but I also like you see to go against a little bit what you said. I think that at this point in the season, no one's really feeling the rust from one day off.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But anyway, Fonseca wins the title, collects biggest one of his career, ATP 500, and just seems like more of an argument for the possible next big three. So we have him at the top 30 at age 19 and the top 25 for the year to date. So pretty big spot to be in.
Yeah, I was kind of I wasn't shitting on Fonseca, but I was definitely leaning in the camp that was saying that Lerner Tien, like even though he had a tenth of the hype, was a better player. But I feel like now with Fonseca's two titles, you can't really say that Tien deserves as much hype as Fonseca.
Well, I think what you're just looking at is that Lerner Chen feels like, I don't know, almost a more mature player where it's like he is very settled in his game. He doesn't have anything crazy about his game, but he's very strategically strong. He's good at moving the ball around the court. He's good at controlling baseline rallies. Whereas Fonseca just has that firepower that feels as though if you are able to harness it, it's going to be more of a threat against top players.
Yeah, and just going off that, when you have that, you're more variable too. Like Fonseca is more likely to exit first round and win a title than Lerner Tien, who's kind of just building. He'll make like pretty deep runs in the tournaments as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, let's move on to Vienna now, which was the tournament you liked a little bit more, but also went a little bit more as expected. So, talking about the early headlines, we had Medvedev, who lost to Mute in a rematch of last week's final. This was an interesting one, especially when it just came up, but I wasn't sure how this match was going to go.
Yeah, I didn't hate this result. I was glad Medvedev won last week, won the title last week, but now I kind of want to see Mute get his turn. So honestly, don't feel bad. Didn't seem like Medvedev was that crushed about it either.
Yeah, I mean, I think Medvedev would much rather have
Yeah.
won the 250 and lost in the second round here.
Yeah, exactly. This one, but I do feel like it could have gone either way, especially after watching the title match and then this one. Like Medvedev was not a lock going in.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then another sort of early round headline is Berrettini winning a couple matches, making it to the quarters. Not a guy I expected to make it through any rounds. I think he did get helped a little bit though by I think Hachinov getting eliminated in the first round, who I believe was in his portion of the bracket, so he didn't have to play the most difficult opponents making it into the quarters.
Yeah, Berrettini making a corner. I don't know when the last time he did that was, but good to see him back, or at least semi back here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's back though, right? It's two matches. It's not like he made the final. I just think a little bit of positive momentum, but don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, it's building up. At least he's healthy. Let's just leave it at that.
Exactly, exactly. And then going on to the later rounds, we had, like we said earlier, Deminar losing to Sinner 3-4. Like I said, is this a foregone conclusion? It wasn't a super close
Yes.
match, and Sinner just kind of clobbered him, right?
Yes. End of story. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what Deminar, he's got to just play out of his mind when he plays center. Like make as many errors as possible or go for as many winners as you can just to have the chance to compete with center.
Yeah, you just have to pretty much just go for broke on every shot.
Dude, two first serves, like just just go for it.
Honestly, that might work a little bit better.
Yeah. Go big or go home. Let's just put it that way.
100%. And then on the other side, Zverev versus Musetti, not like a blowout, but also not a super close match, was only two sets. And it is one where you could say, yeah, Musetti led the head to head. He won in Vienna last year in this matchup. Is he favored going in here? I don't know. It feels like he isn't a super strong player on hard court compared to Zverev, maybe, but I would say it probably was the most contentious match of the final three in terms of could have gone either way.
Yeah, I would say Musetti 2 months ago, overwhelming favorite. But I feel like Musetti has kind of lost that momentum that he had over the summer. And on the other side, Zverev is actually gaining it because he didn't really do much over the summer, Zverev. So he just, this kind of going off on a tangent here, but the match was pretty boring. Zverev does not do anything. He just hits with pace and then kind of just
Waits
puts
for
the
his
ball in
opponent to
play.
miss it.
Yeah, it was wild. But
Yeah, I mean, it's like him and Medvedev have really fallen into this just I'm going to sit at the baseline and hope you eventually miss.
well, what it is, it's like he doesn't even do it with that much power either. I feel like he plays at 60%, or it's just he's so good at what he does that he makes it look that easy.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination. He definitely does make it look like very not difficult, I'll say,
Yeah.
very easy. But yeah, I think it's just not going to work all the time, especially when you're going against those top two guys. And yeah, you don't make it look easy when you're playing Alcaraz and Sinner.
Oh my God. No way.
But anyway, going on to the final here, like you said, this match to me felt like a foregone conclusion, but maybe was a little bit more contentious. Didn't even expect Zverev to take a set here.
Yeah, I mean, when Zverev took that first set, my heart was kind of racing a little bit because I either thought Sinner was gonna retire because he started limping around. He had that
Shocker.
hamstring. Yeah, I know. You see him like you know how he looks. He's got that grimace on his face. He's like looking like he's in pain. So I thought we weren't even going to see the full final. But then he stepped it into gear. He takes the dub. And honestly, just listening to Zverev in the speech after he loses with class. He takes his
Oh,
lumps
he's
and
got a
and he
lot of
does it well.
experience. Got a lot of experience in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
aspect.
He's but his speech is just so long and so elegant, I feel like too, like thanking Sinner or I shouldn't say thanking Sinner, but thanking
Thank you
the
for beating me,
third.
Sinner.
Yeah, no, just like praising Sinner, praising his team. He had like nothing but great things to say. And then obviously just the fact that he's bilingual too. He's speaking in German and English. Pretty
Yeah.
neat.
I mean, I just feel like at this point, on the one hand, you have Zverev, who's like he's almost it almost feels like he's going in expecting to lose this match.
Hmm.
And I think what he really needed to do is like give everything as soon as he saw Sinner like grimace once, because that might have made Sinner just quit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
and
hate to
then
say that, but
yeah, it's tough because I really don't want to believe that Sinner is making up all these injuries. But it seems as though every time he falls behind in a match, he's like, "Oh, I'm injured. Oh, I'm sick. I'm under the weather." You're like, "Dude, it can't be every time."
yeah, I know. I know, seriously. But just kind of going back to what I was saying about Zverev losing with class, this the Australian Open reminded me of how depressed Zverev was after his match because I feel like he genuinely thought, okay, this is it. Like I cannot compete with this guy anymore. If I'm ever gonna win a slam, can't do it against Carlos, can't do it against Jannik. But now, fast forward this match, he loses his title. I feel like it was already expected. Like the depression has already passed. Like he knows he's not
Yeah.
on the same
Well,
level as Sinner.
the
He could just
stages
joke
of
around.
depression, denial, whatever, and then eventually it's acceptance, right?
Yeah, I think yeah, exactly. I think he's at the acceptance phase where he can actually joke around
Yeah.
in his speech.
Not a good place to be when you're a top level tennis player.
Yeah, I know. Oh well.
Yeah. But anyway, you ready to hop into segments here?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey guys, before we jump in, we have some exciting news. We recently partnered with TruePro. They're a great place to buy strings, grips, and tennis apparel. Use discount code Painting Lines, that's one word, for 20% off store wide. You can find the link in our bio.
Alrighty. What's new in tennis? What'd you see this week?
All right, I saw a pretty funny article this week, pretty interesting. Sinner was asked to create his perfect player. So I'm gonna go through what the categories are, and I'm gonna see what you would say versus what Sinner would say. All right,
Okay. My question is it all time? Is it current players?
all-time players, and you can only use one per segment, per category.
Okay.
All right, serves.
I'm going to go with whew, maybe like Isner.
Yep, is there? All right, forehand.
Uh, well, I'm looking at some of the other categories and it's like, I don't want to take them away here. Uh, could he have gone Alcaraz?
He did go Alcaraz, which I
Boom.
thought was insane. Like, how do you do that with your rival? I mean, I guess it's pretty clear, but I
Well,
just
I
feel like
mean,
that's
Alcaraz does have an unbelievable forehand, incredibly strong. It's great at taking a defensive shot, making it offensive, incredible power, and the ability to switch it into that drop shot. So many tools just from one shot.
but is it better than Sinner's forehand? Like I feel like if I'm Sinner, I'm taking my forehand over Alcaraz's forehand.
Well, I mean, you're assuming based on these questions that you're probably picking other players and not yourself, right?
Yeah, but I feel like this category, especially in the forehand section, he's probably thinking like, all right, well, I like personally, I'll take myself, but if I have to choose someone else, I'll choose Alcaraz.
Yeah.
And then maybe vice versa. You think Alcaraz asked this question, he's
He's
taking
probably
Sinner's
taking
forehand?
Sinner.
Yeah, it's
I think
respect.
he's taking Sinner or he's taking maybe like Federer's forehand.
Yeah. Well, how about volleys?
Volleys, that's a tougher one. Uh, I know that John McEnroe was famous for his volleys, but maybe that's who we went with.
Oh, no, he did not. He went with the savant Fed.
Okay, I get that. I mean, Federer was great at kind of charging up the court and getting to the volleys, but I would have thought that he would have used Federer for a different category. I mean, I guess there aren't that many categories for him to place him in, right?
Yeah, I feel like the guys of Federer's generation, like or even a little older, I would even say like the Zverev, the Rudes, the Medvedevs, they might think of Johnny Mac, but I feel like Sinner's just a little too young, and now he's thinking like Federer is to Johnny Mac
Yeah.
as you know what I mean?
Well,
Like
I just
it's
know that
it's kind of that
like
equivalent.
Johnny Mac was famous for like just like being able to stick his racket out anywhere and just kind of take the point. Just like, oh, I'm just gonna stick my racket out and it's gonna be a perfect drop volley or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, backhand. Who do you think he took?
Well, he just took Federer, so that kind of opens up for me. I think it's got to be Djokovic.
Got to be Djokovic. All right, mental,
Yeah, well, because on the back end,
mental
I just
game.
want to say one more is like you only really would take Federer if you were going by the beauty perspective and like, oh, I want my game to look cool, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like Djokovic does have the more effective shot.
Yeah, totally. It's not a actually the split backhand like out wide is just unreal.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
honestly, you could have taken Zverev here too.
Maybe. I mean, but then again,
No.
if that was the question, you would 100% take Sinner's backhand over Zverev's. I feel like
Yeah, see, yeah,
at this
that's true.
point,
That's
Sinner's
true.
backhand is so good.
Yeah. All right, mental game. Like mental
Rafa, it's got
toughness.
to be
Yeah,
Rafa.
it's Rafa.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
is.
I'll be honest. Here's the thing: is like you could have easily gone Djokovic again.
Yeah. Honestly, I may have I would probably switch. I could make a case for Rafa's forehand
I could,
on
I
clay.
would if I was going to switch that. I agree with a lot of his picks, but if I was going to switch it, I probably would have gone Rafa forehand, Federer backhand, Djokovic mental. That seems like
Ooh.
the only other
Ooh.
switch of the big three that you could go for.
Yeah, no, that you kind of nailed that one.
But I think his picks were also very solid.
Yeah, they are. No Sampras in there though. Kind
Yeah,
of a
no,
bummer.
because you could have gone Sampras serve also.
I would have. That's what I was thinking.
I think the
Maybe
thing
even
about it
volleys
is,
too.
yes, that's the thing. I feel like Sampras, what made his serve so effective was his ability to follow it up, whereas Isner was more of like a you just hit the serve and win a point.
Yeah, yeah. All right. How about you? What did you see this week?
I saw something that was just a little odd is that the ATP player website like has replaced some of the images of players with just weird sort of puppets like Muppet characters. It was kind of just funky because I was looking at some head to heads and I was like, why is Deminar just this Muppet character? It just makes me wonder what they're kind of teasing with that. So I'll be interested to see what they come out with in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, that's very strange. I feel like are they trying to appeal to kids or something? Like I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if it's going to be something like a sketch like they did with the last year with the behind the scenes making the
Yeah.
tour or whatever with like the fake tour or whatever it was. If they're
Yeah,
going to do
yeah.
another thing kind of like that, but
Yeah,
I don't
how the
know. It
tour
just
was.
was something I noticed and was wanted to bring up.
Yeah, that's a little strange. And I know the Australian Open, they did some kind of like live stream too, where I guess they got around some TV rights and they were able to put like cartoon players
Oh yeah,
playing the match. Remember
so
that?
strange, so
Yeah,
strange.
yeah.
But
All
anyway,
right.
how about bet of the week?
Bet of the week. Oh, dude, I'm kind of going with a pretty hot take here, but I'm going Shapovalov plus 125 over Fonseca. And I'm going with it because I think Fonseca is still kind of reveling in that title, in that win. And I don't think he's going to be ready. And as a matter of fact, after he won in Argentina, he then first round exited in Rio the next week. So, I'm kind of thinking there. Plus, Chapo's got the ability, he's got the talent.
Yeah. And he's
If
been
he's on,
playing
then
decent recently too.
exactly, exactly. And like Fonseca, we had just mentioned it before. He's very variable. Like he's got a killer game, but it's got highs and lows, and he just won. So I'm thinking maybe maybe
Yeah.
he's on the come down now.
Yeah.
But
Definitely
um,
possible. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's a pretty solid bet.
Yeah. All right. How about you? What's your upset alert?
I got a few potential ones that I'm looking at. First up, one that I mentioned last week, Vachereau, again, plus 185 against Lehechka. So still the underdog. And I think this is probably a better matchup for him just because on the Fritz matchup, you had two guys with super dominant serves. So even if Vachereau completely killed it on his serve, he didn't have the easiest chance to go out and break Fritz. I think he'll have a better chance of collecting a few breaks against Lehechka and getting the win there.
Yeah, I think if you're Lehechka, you're pretty damn nervous that you're playing Vachereau. I think after he wins Shanghai, you're probably like, could be a one-off. And then after seeing him play Fritz, you're thinking, all right, this dude's kind of legit.
Yeah, this is going to be a battle.
Yeah.
And then another one I'm looking at is Munar plus 200 over Medvedev. Yes, Medvedev has been playing better recently, but Munar just made a run, and Medvedev, we know his level is variable. So at plus 200, this feels like a potential upset.
Yeah, unfortunately, whenever I see Medvedev with pretty heavy odds against him, it's always tempting to take it just because he's kind of in that same boat as like a Rublev where, they're not doing as well as they used to be, but they're still going to be favored in all their matches.
100%. And speaking of Rublev, he's my last one. He's playing against Tien, who we know has been very solid recently. Beat Medvedev only a few weeks ago back in, where was it, Beijing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's at plus 110 over Rublev. Definitely another match that could go to the underdog.
Oh yeah, and I think they're one on one. The head-to-head's 1-1 here because I know they played twice this year. They split, but I think I got to lean Tien. I can't believe it, but I'm gonna go Tien here.
Yeah, 100%. It feels like a potential upset.
Yes, it does.
And then finally, how about a match of the week? What'd you go for?
I went with kind of a classic. I went with Berrettini beating Nori in a tight three-setter. It had two tie breaks, and just seeing those two play each other, I feel like it was kind of a blast from like 2021,
Yeah.
2020, that time.
Yeah,
And they were
when
both
Nori
pretty
was
damn
winning
good.
the
Yeah.
Indian Wells and Berrettini was making the Wimbledon final.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But super tight first set. Came down to 6-all in the tiebreaker, and then Berrettini got the mini break and then served an ace, closed out the first set there, which was pretty big. And then second set also went to a tiebreaker, and this one was even tighter. It was at 9-11. Nori got Berrettini. So then pushed it on to a third set. Berrettini closed it out, but honestly, just great tennis being played. I feel like they both kind of up their level. And I feel like when you have two guys who are pretty equal, no matter how low ranked they are, it's still going to be good tennis, like
Yeah,
competitive tennis.
yeah, 100%. When it's competitive, the match is always better, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What
It's
about you?
always better to see, yeah, a close match than to see Sinner blow out freaking Altmaier.
Yeah, yeah, geez. What about you?
I went with a match we already talked about, Vasher versus Fritz. I just was so curious to see Vasher's level, which is why I tuned into this match. And he played very well. A couple key points from winning the match. I think if he had won a break point here or got a couple points in a tie break, it just felt like it really could have gone either way. And it just makes me wonder about what was happening before he made this breakout, because when you watch him play, he feels like he's such a high level player.
Yeah, roller coaster of a match, I'll tell you. I know second set Fritz went up big and then I kind of tuned out and then Bashro came back and was up.
Yeah,
So like could have closed it out that second set, right?
exactly, exactly. He wasn't giving up in the match. He was keeping it
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, good matches this week. Hopefully we'll get a lot more in Paris coming up. All right, and that's the show. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Painting Lines Podcast. Feel free to shoot us a DM or email us any questions or thoughts at paintinglinespodcast@gmail.com.